Hello everyone who is watching this video. This is Nigora Shukurova, a teacher of the Department of Foreign Languages for Humanitarian Directions of Bukhara State University. Today we are going to speak about unintended consequences. It sometimes happens in our lives that our words or actions might not be perceived the way we want, or they may bring unexpected results. The same is with the human activities on a broader scale, such as discoveries and inventions that are initially intended to bring some benefits to the humanity or the development of science may result in unexpected or unforeseen outcomes as well. So today we are going to have a look at some inventions or discoveries or human actions that brought unintended consequences or perverse effects. This lesson is going to discuss some inventions that brought unintended consequences. In particular, we will learn about the tragic story happened in China, and throughout the activities, we will have a look at the use of the passive voice in context and work with topic-related vocabulary. For task number 1, please have a look at these pictures and think of some inventions or discoveries of humanity in history which brought unintended consequences. One example can be an atom. The discovery of an atom was initially meant to serve the science development, but in fact, it has turned into a terrifying weapon and consequently is being used in the production of an atom bomb. Look at the rest of the pictures and think of the rest of the inventions of humanity and their unintended consequences and try to write them. You will have 1 minute to fulfill this task. Done? Let's check. Another invention is plants and factories. Plants and factories are meant to be used for production purposes, but in fact, they are causing air and water pollution. The environment around us is being damaged by the smoke from plants and factories. In the next picture, you can see an opium. An opium that was initially meant to be used for medicine is being used in drugs, and it is causing drug addiction or narcomania. Another invention is satellites, or everything that is connected with spacecraft that are meant to explore the space and again serve the development of science, are causing the destruction of the ozone layer and the appearance of the ozone hole. For the next activity, please have a look at these pictures. Do you have any associations? And can you guess what the next task is going to be about? Some of you might have guessed that this is the story that is going to be about the sparrows and China. It is China's Kill a Sparrow campaign. So let's watch the video and find out what happened in China.
One of the official pests was the sparrow. The small birds were accused of devouring the crops. The word came down from above to mobilize the people to kill the sparrows. Villagers of all ages joined in. We were so busy, we even had to take turns to eat. The trees were really high and hard to shake, but everyone did their best so the sparrows couldn't land. We used slingshots. Some people used guns. Whoever killed the most sparrows was praised and given rewards. Those who caught fewer were criticized and encouraged to do better the next day. In fact, the campaign backfired. With the sparrows gone, more insects survived to strip the crops.
So as you see, the story tells us about the Kill a Sparrow campaign in China in 1958. So our next task is connected with this story. For this task, you will have to listen to the tape and fill in the blanks with appropriate words and phrases. Ready?
Lesson 2. Unintended Consequences.
Good morning, dear listeners. Today again we are in the radio program. When people want to have more change in their lives by a wish to make it happier, they try to experiment something extraordinary or even incorrect, unnatural, which may sometimes bring to different disasters. Those issues can be done by not wanting to damage nature or social structure, but anyway, those faults may harm some spheres in life, society. Not being aware of negative, harmful consequences, they can change a lot of things to worse. Today we are going to speak about a terrible event when a human being's interruption in environmental issue altered the whole ecosystem of the region. People think that nature should be fully exploited by humans for production purposes. But the story to be told today, we hope, will be a lesson for what can happen when changes are made to an ecosystem. We invited Mrs. Parkley, a professor in history at the Chinese State University of Diplomacy. Good morning, Mrs. Lee.
Good morning.
Mrs. Lee, would you like to tell the whole tragic story happened in China to our listeners?
Oh, sure. Just now, let me remember. It was in 1957. No. It was in 1958 the Chinese farmers had less harvest than it was expected. They reasoned that sparrows ate grain seeds. The country was particularly suffering from sparrow. Chinese scientists calculated that each sparrow consumed 4.5 kilograms of grain annually.
Wow.
Yeah, that meant every million sparrows were eating food which could feed 60,000 people. On hearing that information, Chinese leader Mao Zedong ordered the extermination of sparrows. This was a shockingly irresponsible idea for the ecosystem, you know. He didn't want to discuss his plan or listen to experts.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was awful. Mao launched the Great Sparrow Campaign to solve the problem. To accomplish this task, Chinese citizens were mobilized in massive numbers to eradicate the birds by forcing them to fly until they fell from exhaustion. On December 13, yes, it was that the day, the tragic day, from the early morning, the birds were terrorized by Chinese people who took to the streets clenching their pots and pans or beating drums to prevent them from landing.
Oh.
Nests were torn down, eggs were broken, chicks killed, and sparrows were shot down from the sky. By 8 p.m. of that night, it was estimated that a total of about 200,000 sparrows were killed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, as a result of these efforts, the sparrow became nearly extinct in China. And that's when the problem started. A large type of grasshopper, mainly tropical called locust populations occurred. They swarmed the countryside as there were no sparrows in sight. And without the sparrows to curb the insect population, the crop's productivity reduced drastically in a way far worse than if birds had been allowed to hang around. Consequently, agricultural yields that year were disastrously low. Rice production in particular was hit the hardest.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, by April of 1960, it started to become painfully obvious to the Chinese leaders that the sparrows, in addition to eating grains, ate insects. On the advice of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Mao declared full stop to the Great Sparrow Campaign. But it was very late. The damage was done and the situation got progressively worse. The overflow of insects, plus the added effect of widespread deforestation and misuse of poisons, were a significant contributor to the Great Chinese Famine. In 1958, I think, till 1961, in which an estimated, can you imagine, 30 million people died of starvation.
Oh.
Things got so bad that the Chinese government started importing sparrows from other countries.
Oh, from your story, we can see that human disturb into environmental issues brought so many disasters. It brought tragic unintended consequences to the whole country. Humanity did a lot of mistakes in past, but they should serve us as a good lesson. Thank you for your attention.
I hope you could catch all the words and were able to do the task. Let's check your answers. So for A space, you had to use the word satisfied. Chinese farmers were not satisfied with the little harvest. For B space, there should be a number. Calculations showed that 4.5 kilograms of grain. For C space, the word extermination should be used. Mao Zedong ordered the extermination of sparrows. For D space, anti-sparrow war. The whole anti-sparrow war killed hundreds of millions of sparrows. For E space, the word terminating should be used. Ways of terminating included breaking eggs, killing chicks, etc. F space. For F space, you had to use the word to prevent. Farmers holding their pots and pans to prevent birds landing. For G space, the word extinction should be used. Result of these efforts was a nearly extinction of sparrows in China. For H space, it's the type of grasshopper, a large type of grasshopper population, locust, called locust. and for the last space, you had to use the word insects. It became known that sparrows ate also insects, which made Mao Zedong order to stop Great Sparrow War. I hope you understood the story and learned some new words. So now let's discuss the following questions. Can you remember any other human deeds which brought tragic but unintended consequences? What other future human fault is likely to happen? And what consequences it may cause? Please leave your answers on the comments bar and we can discuss them together. Don't forget to write about the other inventions of humanity that brought unintended or negative consequences, and then write about the human deeds which brought unintended consequences. So from the stories today, in today's lesson, we can see that sometimes human disturbance or interference in the environment can be tragic or can be destructive for the environment. Also, we can see that some inventions, along with their benefits for the humanity, can be accompanied by some negative effects as well. So the following resources have been used for preparing this presentation. I hope you got something new for yourselves, improved your grammar and vocabulary, and thanks for watching. See you next time.